Well, hello there again, friends. Today is 7/20/2022, and today is the Odin Project Vlog Day 134. And before I get started today, I want to mention if you see me a little sporadic with my video uploads this week, up through Monday, this upcoming Monday, be 7/25. I am on call this week. I forgot to mention that in my previous video. It was getting long anyway, and my haste to cut it short, I forgot to mention. I am on call for my work, and I got just completely rattled 2 nights ago, and I was up most of the night working issues that I got called on. So just telling you that in case you don't see a video from me. I know last time I was on call, I don't think I put a video up for a whole week, and there's several of you commented asking me if I was okay or what was going on. Yeah, everything's fine. If I had a gripe with YouTube, it would be that because my channel is so small yet, and I don't have 1,000 subscribers. I don't know what the threshold is, to be honest with you, but you have to have a certain threshold to be able to do community posts. So I would love to have that, because if I had community posts, I would be able to might write you guys a little note saying that I'm out sick or I'm on call this week, so maybe not expect a video. But anyway, the last couple days I've been nursing through some Odin project as I had time, so I was able to get through a module. So I'm 52% complete with the JavaScript section, and I did complete the testing basics module. There's not a whole lot here, but like I said, I had off hours, after hours, work commitments, and stuff like that, and dealing with that. So, but I was able to read through this. It's a good read. Looks like the Odin project has changed up their styling a little bit. So no, you're not seeing things. This is the seems like the new, or at least the current CSS layout they're using. Basically, just inverted the knowledge or the lesson guide from the left to the right. So anyway, this is about TDD and testing basics. So good stuff here. Short reads. This is a good article. So what my goal is today, there's only a couple knowledge checks. We'll talk about them, and then there is a read and follow through getting started on the Jest website. So a little bit of code, so I'll go through that with you, and then we'll close off the video. So without further ado, let's get started. So what are the benefits of using TDD or otherwise test-driven development? Couldn't remember what the acronym was. So if you click it, it goes out here to this web archive. Takes it a hot minute to load, and basically it just goes through a high-level overview of why it's important to do test-driven development. And so basically this workflow chart kind of says it all here, and it's pretty cool. It makes sense. So basically the whole idea is to make a test, run the test, and then the idea is to get a fail. And this, I won't do this justice by just describing this in the video, but you guys will read it in the documentation. But basically you write the test before you write the code, then you write the code, and then you run the code, and then ideally your test will fail because you've got a little bit of fixing to do. You fix it, you make a little change, run the test again. If it fails, you make a little change, fail, run the test, fail, run the test, fail until it passes. And then either your development stops, or if your development continues, you go back up and create a new test. A unit test meaning breaking down functions to the smallest thing possible. Like do one thing, like think like A, then do B, then do C type situation. So you don't want to write a test that tests for A, B, and C. You want to write a test that does tests for just A, and then get it to pass, then write a new test that's just for B, get it to pass, and then write a new test for C, get it to pass, and then your development's done. And you want to try to get in the habit of writing your test before you write your code that fixes the break. I know that sounds very counterintuitive, and they go over that in the articles, and there's a really cool video series here by Fun Function. They said to watch the first 3 videos. I ended up watching all of them because he's such a comical guy. It's a pretty cool series to watch, and it flows pretty well. So I highly encourage you to go ahead and watch all of them. I think there's like 6 or 7 videos to the series, but he talks about what I was just describing, and how it's counterintuitive to write. You want to write your code and then write the test is how your brain thinks about it. But no, you want to write the test first because it helps do a lot of different things. I don't know if this article captures that. Yeah, it does. So it improves productivity by minimizing debugging, manual monkeying around and monkey checking, reduce wastage, handovers, improves communication, creates living up-to-date specs. See, that's a cool thing too, is doing this is also a form. I don't know if it talks about in this article, but I remember either reading it or hearing it, is that when you do TDD, it's kind of it doesn't replace documentation, but it's a form of it. So like your Jest test will be a supplement to your documentation and will help your team understand what it is you're trying to do in each module, in each unit function. Communicate design decisions, learning, listen to your code. That's the green light, red light concept of pass fail. Baby steps, slow down and think about it. So improves confidence. That's the idea that I'm going to have less buggier code, more readable code, and less code breaking changes when we do implement a different variable or something new to the logic. Testable code by design plus the safety net of the TDD. So the idea of being able to you make a massive feature change or something, you run through your steps and your tests all over again. You don't have to rewrite your tests, but just run your code through your test. And if it fails, then you've got that's that safety net idea that you have some work to do to get it back into production design again. Loosely coupled design and refactoring, so makes it easier to refactor. So there's that. And then the next one is, what are some common Jest matchers? This goes out to the Jest documentation. We're going to be using Jest as our framework, if you will, or our application to run our test. It's a popular one out there. I think Top mentioned some other ones like Mocha, Jasmine, Tape. Jest is probably one of the more widely used, more common ones. Lots of knowledge base articles on it, so that's good. And here it talks about the different matchers. 2B, this is the most common one, so you expect 2 plus 2 to be 4, equal 4. 2 equal is another common one. Expect the output of data to equal this object bracket notation here. 2 equal also recursively checks every field of an object or an array. You can also test for the opposite of a matcher, like not. So you put not to be will expect A plus B to not be 0. So I like it. I think a lot of people like it using this test engine because it's easy to write tests and it's human readable. So you got truthiness too. You got to be null, to be undefined, to be defined, to be truthy, to be falsy. I won't go into that in great detail. It's pretty self-explanatory, but I'll let you read it on your own. Numbers, expecting value, pretty common sense here. To be greater than, to be greater and equal, to be less than or equal. Floating points can be, you can use to be close to, in case, because if you try to use 2b, obviously that would come out false because of a rounding error. If you're adding 0.1 plus 0.2 is not going to be 0.3 exactly. It's going to be, 0.33333. You get the point. It's going to round it out to a certain decimal point, so it won't exactly be 0.3. So to be close would get it there and would call it a pass. You can do strings, not to match, again, and then you can use regular expressions on top of that. So you could say expect team not to match I, which this is testing for just an example. There's no I in team. These are just obviously fictitious tests, but just to get your idea, your thought around the idea. So I is the expression for I, and you use a reg expression for stop to match to make sure that there is a stop in Christopher, which there is right here, excuse me, stop. So you can use arrays in iterables as well, using to contain. You can also use to contain with a new command for setting in case your code is setting, you're testing for the setting of the shopping list to be updated with milk, and maybe it's not currently in there. You would use this new set, is how I understood that. You can use throws, to throw, or to throw with the error in it, and so you'd be looking for you're using the wrong SDK or JDK, and that's about it. Kind of went through that fast. It's not a lot of information, but it's good. And then, so there's this getting started documentation tutorial, which is this right here. What you do, you start off by doing npm install -- save dev for the dev environment. We talked about that before with npm packages. So we're going to install Jest, and I did that already. Right here, I don't have it very big, so let me see if I can expand this for you guys. There you go. So npm install -- save dev Jest. It adds it really fast, and I don't know why my mouse does that. I have not figured that out. If that may be the VM, or it might be the OBS recording studio that does that jerkiness. Always seems to come up. Anyway, because it doesn't do it when I'm not recording. Anyway, so I'm just getting back in. I'm using code here, or the command line to get back in the Odin project. But basically, I went to root, npm install save dev Jest. It installed it. So then I went to back into my not GitHub folder, and then created the npm init, so that this does. Actually, I'm kind of getting ahead here, so I'll come back to that in a second. Here it says they want you to do some hypothetical testing, so we're going to create a file called sum.js and sumtest.js. So we hit the editor here. I created a folder called Jest Test and created a file called sum.js and sumtest.js. So the sumtest.js is our test for the sum. So it's going to take const sum equals require sum. So we're going to bring in the sum JavaScript as a require, and we're going to test adds 1 + 2 = 3 is the testing, and then we're going to expect sum with the argument parameters of 1 and 2 to be 3. And so if you go over here to sum, this is all explained also in the documentation. I just wanted to flip over to the code here. This is all, they just have you type this in, so I just copy and pasted it. But so you have functions sum a and b as parameters, return a and b, pretty simple, or just a plus b on the return. And then you have to have your module.export equals sum, so you want to export just like we've done with Webpack. You want to export that as a module, and that brings it over here nicely into the test, and that then can be ran. Let's see at what point. Okay, so after you create those two files, they have you add the following section here, the scripts test Jest to your JSON. Well, I didn't have JSON at that moment, so that's when I went out to the terminal here. I didn't have a package.json, excuse me, for Jest. So I went out here and I ran npm init because I remembered from Webpack and some other utilities we've used. You need to run the npm init to get the packet.json file to be created. So that's when I went out to the Jest test folder that I created. It's like because you want to run the init in the folder that you're running it on. You can run this in the terminal too. As you can see here, I did some playing in the terminal. I'm just inside the Vscode. I'm just used to doing things on a normal terminal window in Ubuntu. So basically it goes through the yes/no situation. We're going to pick all the defaults. I just need a simple package.json file to work with. So when I hit yes, it created the Jest test version 1 description blank main sum.js script. Again, none of this is really that important. I just needed it to create the file. And so it created the file. Then it comes up with this right here. And then what you do is just see here it created echo, error, no test specified, and exit 1. You just delete all that and you just replace it with Jest. Leave the test in there because that's going to be what the script's going to look to run, and it's going to run whatever's in the quotes here. So we're calling Jest, so it's going to run Jest. So once you've done that, you then save all that out, and you can run your test. So if you don't do this, your test won't run. You'll get an error message. I don't know because I didn't do that, but you will get an error message if you do not build the package.json first and add your script in here. There's actually a walkthrough also. I didn't do this in code, but there's a walkthrough where you can create a watcher on here where you can just run your Jest automatically, and it will be running as a watcher file that will constantly update once it sees your sum.test or sum.js code change, and you save it out. I don't remember exactly how to do that, so I won't show you here for the sake of time, but you would add that script here. I think it was just called watch, if I remember right. I think you just do something like this. I think. Don't quote me on that. But I think you do like that, and then you would type in the name of whatever the name of the file is you want to watch. So anyway, you come down here in the terminal. You can run this in the command line too. I just decided to do this in the integrated terminal. So you fire it up here, and then you just run, since we don't have the watcher set up, we just do npm test. So that runs the test here, and that calls the Jest program or framework, whatever you want to call it. And then it runs it here, and it passes a nice little green checkbox. Adds 1 + 2 to equal 3 2 milliseconds, and it says 1 passed, 1 total. We've seen this before. We worked with Jest in the very, very beginning of Foundations, or pretty close towards the beginning, maybe the middle, but it's been a long time since we messed with it. So we're gonna go hit a deeper dive, I think, in this little mini series here with Jest. So yeah, so that is it. Yeah, so that is done. So the next lesson, I think, yeah, we'll be starting a project. So like I said in the beginning of the video, just to reiterate, not sure if I'll have another video coming out prior to Monday. We'll see. I just take it a day at a time. Obviously I don't know when I'm going to be getting on calls. They happen, in the evening, I get interrupted or whatever. If they happen in the middle of the night and I lose a bunch of sleep, like happened on Monday night, it will take me a lot longer to put anything out. So I don't know if I will get to this. I will try. If not, I'll be back on normal schedule next week after Monday. So just want to let you guys know that and reiterate that, since I currently can't post community posts because my channel doesn't meet the requirements yet. So, but you guys can help me get there. If you by liking, sharing, and subscribing, and telling others about the content and how it helps you, and sharing it and showing them, and getting this channel to grow that way. will completely help me meet that community guideline goal, so I can post a community post to you guys to keep you up to date on things. So anyway, that'll be it for this. So thanks again for coming along the journey. Hope you learned a little bit about TDD and Jest today. So with all that said, till next time, see ya.